Ooh, shit. All right, we got a pretty juicy one to talk about today, people. Adrian Wojnarowski. If y'all don't know who that is, he's a basketball reporter formerly for Yahoo Sports. Just recently hopped on over to ESPN. Anyway, on a podcast earlier today, he broke news that before shipping him out to OKC, Indiana actually approached Golden State with an offer. Basically, Paul George for Klay Thompson, straight up 1-for-1 transaction. And as you can probably tell, the Warriors said, nah, bro, we good. Then went back to polishing their championship rings. But goddamn, this is an interesting trade to talk about, because when you look at it on paper, this seems like a pretty even trade for both sides. You know, these two players are so similar in terms of their production, offensively and defensively. You know, they'll get it in different ways. PG will get more of his points attacking, finishing around the rim, dunks and layups, still a great shooter, and he'll put up his fair share of mid-range jumpers and threes. But the difference is that he'll do it primarily pulling up off the dribble, you know, creating the offense for himself, whereas Klay will obviously play off the ball and let KD, Steph, and Dre create the offense. When he's spotting up for a jump shot or finishing in the paint, normally it's going to be off of a catch and shoot or slashing through the defense. But regardless of their tactics, they're both 3-and-D guys. They're both going to put up about the same number of points, create the same advantage on defense as each other. And that is the main reason that Golden State would prefer Klay, you know, regardless of the circumstances surrounding this deal, which I'll get into in a minute. But if you're the Warriors, why get basically the exact same production, but out of a guy that, as a result of less off-ball skill, doesn't fit the system nearly as well, doesn't know the offense nearly as well? You know, they already are running down a pretty fine line in terms of just, how should I put this, the ability to actually utilize all the talent that they have stockpiled right now. They got the perfect formula where they're not going to be taking advantage of any of KD's talents, any of Steph's talents, or any of the stars' talents for that matter, because they all mesh together so well. So they all know their roles. None of them are going to overstep, but at the same time, none of them are going to be left out of the equation. And you don't want to add another ingredient into that formula, even if it is a talent as great as Paul George, and risk screwing everything up. And I'm not going to even get into the conversation of who's the better talent, because as I said, their production's so similar that in my eyes, it's not really that either of them is better. It's more just that their play styles are different, but that they both meet somewhere in the middle. On to the other reasons that this trade offer is actually laughable for the Warriors. What is Paul George's value? Well, he's absolutely a superstar in the league, absolutely one of the most coveted talents in the league. But what is really his value at the moment in time when Indiana's trying to ship him out? Very low. For one, he's going to walk out the door anyways. Really, they should be looking for any supplemental value to ease the pain of losing him. Asking for another superstar in return, who's probably just as good as Paul George, arguably better, is blasphemous. Why you think all they were able to get for him was some scraps from OKC? Because that's what his value is right now. Even if you don't consider that at all, you know, place yourself in a scenario where Indiana isn't going to lose Paul George. They're just testing the waters to see what they can get back with. It's still a bad deal. Why? Because of his contract. First of all, Klay's contract is about $1 million cheaper, but that's not even the real problem. The problem is that Paul George is on a rental contract right now. He's got a player option next year for $20 million, and you know he's probably going to waive that to get in on these new deals that superstars are getting under this new cap. The concern isn't that he'd leave Golden State. I can't really see a situation where he would. The concern is that then you're going to have to go and figure out how you're going to manage yet another salary, and it's just an extra trouble that you wouldn't even have to worry about if you just stuck with your man, Klay. All that aside, Paul George had some comments on this proposed deal. He said that he would have been interested to see what playing in Golden State would be like, but that the league probably would have vetoed the trade anyways, like they did with that Chris Paul trade to LA, to the Lakers. So basically, in translation, he's saying that he's that much superior to Klay that it'd be seen as unfair. And I just think that that was a pretty disrespectful thing to say, to be honest. He could have worded that a lot better. But I do get where he's coming from, and yes, I absolutely could see the league nixing this trade after Adam Silver's comments last year about how the KD move was bad for the NBA. He actually came out publicly and said that. Yeah, that's right, Silver. I see you. Don't be acting out now like we're witnessing greatness like you were saying in those final interviews. I know how you really feel about this team. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I got 3 questions for you. 1, would you have pulled the trigger on this deal if you were Golden State? Let me know why or why not in the comment section down below. 2, do you think the league would have vetoed it if it had actually went down? And 3, how do you feel about Paul George's comments? That's all for now. Klay Allen on the mic, signing off. Peace.